Hi guys, my name's Skidd. Welcome to my top 10 building tips and tricks video. This is basically a few of my ideas and what I incorporate into my builds. Since I've done a few base building videos, I thought it was about time I showed you all the kind of things I do when I'm building a base, what I think about. So I hope you enjoy and let's get into the video. The first tip I have is don't stack hatches, which means don't put hatches on top of each other like on a 1x1, keep going up. What you want to do is separate the hatches with a door or a few doors. That way raiders can't blow straight up and get into the hatch. If a raider's about and he decides to go up your ladder hatches, when the C4 or whatever explosive he's using actually goes off, he won't have another ladder hatch. This means it prevents him from going upstairs faster. He'll have to blow through more doors to get higher up in the base where your loot could be stored. If you do stack ladder hatches, as you can see here, sometimes they get pretty awkward and in the way. Also, if you have both of them open, you can't climb up them, you get stuck and it's really glitchy. On top of all of that, it's easier to raid and get up throughout your base. Now, if you've been playing Rust for a while, you probably know this one already. This is actually the door order in which you place your airlocks in. So this creates a little airlock in itself. People can't get through the gap when you open the doors. It also provides a little sort of shooting area so you can shoot out, and if you die it's fine because nobody can go deep. When facing the base, if the door is on the left side, the inner door will become the blockade and stop people from coming in. Whereas vice versa, if the door is on the right side, the front door will become the blockade. Third is the unlootable loot room design. This is my own design, but I incorporate it into many of my builds. As you can see here, we have an unlootable design and a regular one. When you raid a normal loot room, garage door or double door, whatever it be, you can actually just go straight into the loot room itself. You can destroy the boxes if they have code locks on. If not, then it's easy loot through one door. If you use the unlootable design, you have to actually break the whole 1x1 or whatever shape your loot is in. If you don't, and even if you just get the window, you still can't access the loot because of the code locks. I've done a video which will be linked in the description that explains how unlootables work completely. If you don't know how these work, then I'd definitely recommend checking out the video and start incorporating these into your own bases. Next up is garage doors. If you go into many bases, you'll probably see a lot of open areas, even if they're only 1x2 or 2x2. A lot of the time people just leave it open. The good thing with garage doors as opposed to double doors is they don't actually take up any extra space. So if you just go around and in every socket place a door frame and a garage door, it provides you with a lot more protection, and when you're online you can just lift them all up and it's just as if the space is empty. Now I'm sure many of you know this already, but sleeping bags is not necessarily a building tip, but whenever you do a base or whenever you make a house, a home somewhere, you want to make sure you have multiple bags. I recommend putting one in your base as always, and if you have a big base, possibly two on different levels or different sides of the base. Then just run around and find places outside, maybe in a bush or hidden in a rock. It's a bit of an annoyance when people destroy them outside, but it's even more annoying when you die and you have a 5-minute timer. Another building tip is, regardless of what your base is, what you want to do is focus on the foundations and the ceilings / floors the most. Whenever you do a base, you want to make sure the first things you upgrade to metal are your foundations along with your ceilings. This prevents people from picking up into your base if they do go deep on one part. And in addition to that, when you actually build a base, you want to make sure that your foundations are the first thing you upgrade. I see so many people make these twig bases and they upgrade all of their walls and their ceilings and sometimes forget about the foundations. I'm not saying they leave them twig, but even leaving them wood with stone ceilings and walls, because there's so many people with flamethrowers or will see you as a potential target because you have a wooden floor. So just make sure your foundations are the first thing you upgrade. My next tip is all about loot placement. If a raider comes in and sees you have two doors or two unlootable rooms right next to each other, of course they're going to go straight for the middle because splash damage. Splash damage essentially damages everything around a certain area, so if two doors are together or 3 or 4 windows, whatever, a raider can shoot a rocket or something else that does splash damage and it will destroy all of them at once. This saves them materials and makes you an easier and faster raid. What you want to do is make sure the loot is placed away from each other. This means when a raider does try and get into your loot room, they can't actually access both loot rooms at the same time. They have to blow them up individually, which makes your raid slower, harder, and them waste more explosives. Next tip is absolutely put a code lock on everything. As you can see here, this is just a range of all the things, mostly doors and gates, but even boxes, tool cupboards, lockers, anything you can put a code lock on, put it on. If anyone does decide to raid you or go deep on your base, having a code lock slows them down drastically. It means they can't just open a box and get an AK or a weapon to potentially help them get further within the raid. They have to destroy it, and it gives you an easier time to defend. My second from last building tip is door placement. Whatever base you have, wherever you live, whatever you've built, make sure your weakest door goes on the front. Whether it be a wood door or a sheet metal door, make sure that's on the front. This is because if a raider sees a weak door like a wooden one, they might decide to flame raid it, or a sheet metal door, they might decide to just satchel it, and then when they get inside, they see a stronger door which they can't go through. This means anyone trying to raid you, any of your opponents, sort of neighbours that live around the area, if they try to raid you, they actually lose resources because they're not expecting what's on the other side. If this is done vice versa and a strong door is put on the front, if they decide to raid you and go in and see a weaker door or a door of the same strength, they're not going to hesitate, they're going to go straight through it because they've just blown through something twice as strong. And my 10th and final tip is just decorate. This isn't a necessity, but what I do within most of my bases, I'm not asking you to become a full-time role player, but every time I get a rug or a sign, I always save it, put it up in the base. It makes it much more home-like. I prefer a base that looks good. I don't want it to be empty and bland. It makes me enjoy the game a lot more, and all the aesthetic items you can use to zazz up your base, you should use to the full advantage. That wraps up the video, and they were my top 10 building tips. If any of you guys like this type of video and want to see more top 10, top 5 raiding tips, PvP, sort of primitive, whatever, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe. This was a different type of video for me, so I hope it went well. I worked really hard on it and tried my best. Other than that, make sure you join my social media down below and follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, and peace.